So welcome to this second Global Math Project webinar titled Let's Declutter Mathematics. My name is Samuel Saint-Amour. I will be your moderator for this 30-minute webinar. And I know your hosts, James and Sunil, are really ready to start this. But just before we start, a quick reminder. If you have questions, please type them in the chat box that you see at the bottom of the screen. And same thing, if you have audio problems or anything like that, make sure you type them in the chat box. And if we encounter any technical issue, yeah, here's the chat box. Thanks, James. If we encounter any technical issue, I will do my best to bring everything back quickly. So just hang on. It shouldn't be long if anything happens. So I will leave the stage to you, James and Sunil. And Jill, hopefully sound and video is all good. Seems perfect for now. So to you guys.
Thank you, Samuel. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, James.
Good evening, fellow sir. How are you doing?
I'm doing very good. Jill, can you hear me yet?
Why is it just you and me? Where's our special guest, Jill? What happened?
Oh my goodness, Jill. Where'd she go?
So what? Tell me. Tell the audience what happened here. We had a little snafu.
We had a little snafu in terms of the recording of the first half of the webinar. Didn't go as planned, so the second half was nicely recorded. So it has all the momentum and enthusiasm of our presentation with our attendees. And the first 10-15 minutes, unfortunately, wasn't there. And what we were talking about was what is decluttering, and is it
There we go.
are things cluttered? So take it away.
Well, that's a very good question. So we had Jill Denise, who's one of the co-founders of the Global Math Project, come join us. In fact, you'll see her when we get to the second half of the webinar that was recorded. She's also the director of the mathematics curriculum for Great Minds, and they are the producers of one of the national curriculum in the US. So they've actually thought deeply about issues of the curriculum and so forth, and cluttering and decluttering. Though they don't use that language. That was the point of tonight's webinar. So I guess the first thing we asked, or maybe I asked it, was what does cluttering even mean? Is mathematics cluttered? Is the mathematics curriculum cluttered? What is clutter in that sense? Is that something? Are we actually talking about something here? And if so, what does it mean to declutter it? So that was the good chunk of the first half of the webinar today. So what did we conclude? Did we get anywhere with that beginning discussion of things?
I think we really opened it up because it's a word which I think I just came across as when you've recently sort of coined it, decluttering. It's just really entered my psyche just recently, and so I'm thinking about, well, what does cluttering mean? Something can be full and still not seem cluttered, but to you and now to me, it does seem cluttered, that there seems to be a lot of interference in terms of getting from A to Z. Do you have to go through all the letters and steps of the alphabet metaphorically to get to the right answer? Why can't you just get to where you need to go and avoid hard work, as you say? So I think there's a lot here what decluttering means. It sounds like a fun, whimsical term to just throw around, but I think there's a lot of deep layers here, which I think eventually going to connect us to, I think, meaning.
Right. So I think that one thing that you pointed out during this first half was actually that journey from A to Z. So, I mean, at one point I did mention I was worried about certain parts of the curriculum that insist that every child go through steps A, B, C, D, and even be graded on each step. To me, that feels like, well, it feels joyless, but also feels unnecessary, because actually, if you can step back from the alphabet and see this wonderful journey in its own right, and realize that actually, oh, A to M gives me the key piece, and once I see M, I can see a picture, and common sense takes me to Q. I'm almost there. Getting up to W, then I might be at Z. Done. End of story. So I worry about the nature of the curriculum being such that we must break it down to digestible pieces at all times, at all ways, at all children, and insist they do each piece. That feels unnecessary and a little bit joyless to me. But I also understand pedagogically that sometimes a child might need 26 steps and want 26 steps. That's fine. In which case, I'd love to make it a conversation with the child. What 26 should be followed? It's make it something they own, not an edict. Because otherwise, it can feel like clutter. If it's just yet another sequence of steps to answer yet another type of question I wasn't asking in the first place, and repeat it for this other type of question, this other type of question, this other type of question. If there's no connected story, if there's no sense of what the journey is, then it could only feel like clutter, and I can feel, well, maybe a little sad, but certainly joyless.
And I think because you were discussing in that first half a high school graphing functions question that you came across. And I remember teaching those same type of questions, and yes, and I had the same experience where teachers would give out, 8 to 10 marks for all the steps, but a little bit of, early intuition, a couple of key ideas about it was calculus of points of inflection. Well, if you know those inflection points, it could be asymptotes. There's things you can piece together if you were trained to think like that. And this goes back to installing this kind of thinking as early as possible and not waiting for it to be high school, because by that time maybe the students are too used to certain ideas and they don't know how to think. It's so cliche, outside the box.
Right, so I think you've just summed up the first half. Help students find that sense of connection, the ability to step back and think about what's going on. I always like to phrase it in terms of avoiding hard work, that work hard to avoid hard work. What I mean by that is actually getting a sense of perspective on the situation, try to understand the deep core meaning and journey of it, and then actually you can probably nudge your way through it and not let it be a cumbersome procedure. And I think the point you then made was actually seeing that connection actually is the joy of mathematics.
Look, going back to some of the comments made about connection. So if you just follow the trail of breadcrumbs, decluttering leads to connection, and then I guess connection is going to take you to, at some point, joy. Because can you? That's the end game, I think, for the Global Math Project and Exploding Dots. And I think for ourselves is that, we want it to be a very joyful and happy experience, mathematics. And I'm not sure if we can do it if it remains in a cluttered state. Even organized chaos, or whatever that is. I think you might get proficiency, you might get mastery. I'm not sure if you can actually find the joy.
That's an interesting one.
That's crazy talk to you. It does make it more joyful.
Yeah.
For sure. It's so hard. I find it so hard. I've been challenged recently to be able to describe exploding dots to somebody who doesn't know it, and choosing the right words. It's damn difficult. My son is home from college, and he's part of the inspiration for why we wanted to follow the Hour of Code model and take it worldwide. And I woke him up this morning. I'm like, Caden, why did you call it mind blowing? Like, what about it was mind blowing? Can you speak more specifically? I need a better word. And he's like, I swear I just thought about it for 20 minutes long, and I just don't know how to say it.
Wow. Oh, so what makes it okay? Well, I mean, that is the number one response we get from Exploding Dots. People just describe it mind blowing. I get that every single time. I'll bet you bottom dollar I'll hear it at least 3 times every time I give an Exploding Dots presentation.
Yeah.
What is it? What is it that makes it mind blowing? What is it that's blowful there? Mind blowing.
It has to be seeing the connections that you never saw before. I think that's what it has to be.
Yeah.
I think.
And that's what ties back to the decluttering. Uh-huh.
Yeah. And what gets me is that this question came up for me today, in fact, when people ask me, but I'm a high school teacher, can I just start the Exploding Dots story right at polynomials? And I actually thought, no. I mean, when I go give the Exploding Dots talk for college faculty, not undergraduate faculty, I will always start at the very first lesson. When I was a child, I invented a machine. Not true. The 2-1 story. Because it actually is, let's take something very familiar. Now, what I think is mind-blowing part of it is you can take something you think you know so well, and then suddenly the story goes zoomp, upside down. What you thought was familiar actually comes seen in a brand new light, but it's a light with extraordinary power that suddenly penetrates the K through 12 experience. So yes, with high schoolers, start at kindergarten math. What is place value? But go all the way through. You probably get to polynomials pretty quickly with high schoolers. You probably won't get to polynomials with third graders. That's okay. But the starting point is actually the same, because the idea is, can you see how you can take something you thought you knew so well before and suddenly realize there's a whole new universe to it that was right under your nose all the time. You just didn't twig onto it until this moment. That's, to me, is mind-blowing.
Yeah, I like this Mike Jacobs quote here that he's written. Exploding dots are mind-blowing because of the reveal. All of a sudden, everything connects and new knowledge is born. That was beautiful.
He said it just much better than I did. Smart fellow. Love it. That's exactly right. Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, and the visuals definitely had a big part.
That's the other thing. I'm obviously a very visual person, and I will rely on visuals left, right, and center. I don't know how normal that is. Is that normal?
I think so.
I don't know about normal, but I do think there's research to support it, the power of the visualization.
Would that be 1950s research as well, or?
No, I think it's more current than that. Thanks. And it wasn't done by the same guy, for sure.
Brilliant.
Just to go back to the mind-blowing part, I was just last couple of minutes thinking about what is it about that's so mind-blowing. I think for me the more interesting part is that these teachers and students are having these experiences, and it's a very natural reaction to maybe this could be the first time they've had that deep connection. And it's just this sort of involuntary response that they're so effusive about it. And it's such a natural human, like when I did a presentation in Georgia and I saw the facial expression of this teacher, I mean, she's not hiding what she's seeing. Like, it's almost like exactly the first time I'm seeing a deep connection, and I've never had this sort of experience. So I think that's a really powerful statement as to how first time people seeing exploding dots are expressing their experience with it.
So if we manage to survive our dream of doing this after 10 years, brand new experience each and every year, so basically we have an entire brand new K through 12 curriculum out there for the world on our Global Math Project page. It'll be blasé to people then to see all these connections all the time. Ho hum, another connection. Oh well. Is that what we're shooting for here? It becomes the norm.
Yeah. Yes.
Let's hope for that. I will settle for the boredom with connection.
But people will protest when they're not given what they want anymore after that.
There you go.
Right. Brilliant. All right. Looks
Did
like we have
anybody
2
attend-
more minutes.
Oh, sorry, Jason Zimba's NCTM talk. I missed it, but I know it was on this book. It was on a book that I've read and appreciate, The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up. And he applied that principle. I don't know if anybody saw his talk on that. I'd be curious to how it went. But I did read and apply the principles of that book and found it to be really life-changing. It was remarkable how important tidying up can be and decluttering.
Decluttering, there we are.
Yeah, there you are.
So James, do you have any final words about the decluttering and just exploding dots experience that people are going to have? And
Well, I know it's become a thing for us to have a math challenge to go with each of these webinars. So I do have one, so I'll explain what that is in a moment. But first of all, I know it's coming right up on the half hour, and I know Jill has to run, but I want to thank Jill profusely for coming on board tonight, being so brave to join us and talk about decluttering. I think it was absolutely insightful and inspiring. So thank you, Jill, very much. Always a pleasure to chat with you about things of mathematics and more. And so thank you. And Global Math Project, I say, yes, I'm obviously a firm believer in decluttering. I feel like things are very cluttered and we can just let that set mathematics free. And I feel like exploding dots is a prime example of what that can mean. It makes the connections. If you don't know about exploding dots already in the Global Math Project, please go to globalmathproject.org. And if you want to know what exploding dots specifically are, we're starting to collate a lot of materials. We're having a registration page coming up. But in the meantime, just Google exploding dots. You'll find plenty of stuff out there about it itself. But we're going to have new snazzy material. Thank you, Scolab, for that coming up for April and beyond. And when you're ready, I'm happy to give my math challenge for this webinar. I've even got it in my Control V to be cut and pasted to the chat paste spot this time, which I failed to do last time. So Sunil, any last minute words from you before I give the math challenge?
No, I think we've had a really good webinar about decluttering and moving forward, and I think we're waiting for your math challenge.
Okay,
hey
so
guys,
it's really about the message.
Just to interrupt you quickly, sorry, Sam here. I just wanted to suggest that you let people know how to connect with you guys on social media, or if you want to give your email or other ways to learn more about all of that. I think that would be a great time right now if you guys want to go with that.
Silly us, in case we're unreachable, Sam comes in and corrects us. Sorry about that. Sunil.
Go ahead.
So yeah, you can follow me on Twitter @MathGarden, and I'm also on Facebook as well. And yeah, that's where you can find all the tweets about Global Math Project, anything wonderful about mathematics, at Math Garden. I'll type it in too.
Excellent. And I'm on Twitter as well, at James Tanton. Very easy. When I'm on Facebook, probably James Tanton, and I'm on email. Well, it's not actually James Tanton, it's tanton.math@gmail.com. But if you just type in James Tanton, actually, I do come up now, so I'm easy to find, so I'm happy to chat. If you do send me an email, please, 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 I give pre-apologies. I'll be slow in responding only because I get a lot of emails, but I will respond eventually. Grand. Now it sounds like math challenge time.
Challenge time.
All right. Avoid hard work. Here goes. So we all know what a magic square is. You know, for example, you have a 3x3 magic square. It'd be a grid of 9 numbers in a square. Each cell has a number in it, and all the rows add up a specific value, all the columns add up a specific value, and the two main diagonals add up a specific value. So my question is, actually got 2 questions, and about variations of this. Question number 1, a magic rectangle. So it's going to be a rectangle, a non-square this time. Now, the rows will add up to something, and the columns will add up to the same something, but this time let's forget about diagonals. Diagonals don't work. So all I care about is rows and columns. What can you tell me about the magic sum of a magic rectangle? What do the rows and columns have to add up to? Again, go for a little walk. Don't think about this problem. Let's try to avoid hard work. You can do algebra if you like, but good luck to you. And my second question is back to squares. So imagine you've got a normal magic square. We'll go 3x3. All the rows, columns, and diagonals add up to a certain same value. That's additive. Is it possible? Is there an easy way? So I'm asking, is there an easy way to turn an additive magic square into a multiplicative magic square? That is, all the rows multiply to the same value, all the columns multiply to that same value, and the two diagonals also multiply to that same value. Please avoid hard work. Algebra would be horrible. Don't do algebra. So that's my little challenge. So I'm going to paste it into the chat room right now. I think it will go in. Let's see what happens. No, it doesn't go in at all. Okay, that's clever. So we have to, where we put this? So we'll post this somewhere else. Let's see. What can I do about that?
Tweet it out. Great challenge.
Oh, it's a bit longer than 140 characters. Let's see. What could I do? Oh, well, this is very exciting. This is great for a webinar, isn't it? I'm going to have to think of another way to get this out to the world. All right. So question again. What must the magic sum of a magic rectangle be? What must all the row values and column values add up to for a magic rectangle? And part 2, is there an easy way to convert an additive magic square into a multiplicative magic square?
I like that.
Cool.
It's time to go for a walk.
Time to go for a walk. 2 walks. There's 2 questions there.
2 walks at least.
Yep. Go home, then go out again.
Thank you very much, James. Thank you very much, Chanel. That was amazing. I think people had a great time. There were a lot of amazing comments. Thank you, everyone, for attending. Again, if you have comments, if you want to connect with James and Chanel, you can easily do so on Twitter. And if there's anything else, let's just connect on email and Twitter. So see you next time. We'll post the next registration for the next webinar on the same page. It will be coming up in the next week or so, so stay tuned. And in the meantime, well, enjoy the week.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Ciao, everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.